the Suki and Scott Show.
This is one of the funnest shows I've ever done.
Lady, when you're with me, I'm smiling.
It's musical. It's magical.
Suki and Scott, the seven of hearts. Woo! Exactly.
What she said. This is a sexy show.
Someone's getting some action.
Now, these larger-than-life personalities are on an exciting new journey as they bring you the Suki and Scott Show.
You guys nailed it. You're great. You ask great questions. You listen.
I answered you because I have respect for you guys, and it was a question respectfully put.
The Suki and Scott Show is your one-stop destination for humor.
You like De Niro when Kate appeared. Counselor!
Entertainment.
Jesse's girl.
Wonderful.
Can you play with all the colors of the wind?
And optimism.
You guys have such amazing energy.
Ultraviolet light, it gets in there and it just fights the kung flu, is that right? Okay.
Let's laugh together.
I love you.
The Suki and Scott Show.
That's the best intro for a show I maybe have ever seen.
Really?
Your intro is fantastic.
Yes, Sue. How you doing, baby? Eric Roberts with the ultimate quote on this program.
It's the best opening ever.
Right. The show is okay. The intro is fantastic.
How you doing, friend? What's going on?
Good, Suk. Listen, we're doing something a little different this time around, right? You and I normally talking to celebrities and influencers and performers, but you know, for the season, we really wanted to do a couple of shows where we focused in on some people who are, I guess you could say, doing good in the neighborhood, right, Suk?
Doing good in the neighborhood. I like that.
They're doing good in the neighborhood. People here in the tri-state, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area who are doing great things and helping people, you know, charitable events, charitable organizations, raising money. And we have got an amazing show today for you, Sue. Coming up a little later on, Pamela Peckerman, who's a mom influencer, right? Yeah. Her dad passed away years ago from vasculitis disease. And she now is out there creating awareness and raising tons of money for the Vasculitis Foundation, which is one of those diseases where if it's not caught early enough, you're in big trouble. So she unfortunately learned that firsthand. Yeah. And now she's out, right, creating awareness for everybody else.
And there's lots of celebrities that are coming out because there's different forms of vasculitis. Ashton Kutcher came out with his sort of ongoing battle with vasculitis. And also the guy from Ghostbusters. Why am I forgetting his name?
Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis. So, I mean,
Ghostbusters and Stripes. How dare you?
And Stripes. I love Stripes. That was those dirty movies back in the 80s, right?
First off today here on the show, a couple of guys near and dear to my heart. Operation K9 Beethoven, Sue. And all you have to say is K9 to us, and you know we're hooked, right? And you want to bring the guys in, but first, here's a little bit of Operation K9 Beethoven, and then we'll bring them in on the other side. Take a look.
That was gonna make me cry.
Arpi Cortez, Brian Reingout. Guys, how are you?
How are you? Thanks so much for having us.
All right, listen, first of all, get out of the way. We need Beethoven. Where is he?
Where is he? Beethoven!
Was the boss. Was that little Beethoven in those pictures?
No, that was a dog that we gave to a veteran.
Hi, Beethoven. Hi.
Hold on, let's get Beethoven up.
Oh, he's so handsome. I love shepherds. Look at them.
He goes to the VA home with me all the time.
I love it. So listen,
the rehabs.
Yep.
Brian and Arpi, listen, man, we want to talk to you guys about all this stuff. First of all, how did the two of you? I know, Arpi, you started really kind of doing this on your own. Then the two of you guys got together, right? How did you guys put this all together?
Well, go ahead.
It's kind of a long story. I don't know how much time we have.
We have time.
Okay, so a couple of years ago, my parents were selling their house,
in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, and we had some kennels. I had dogs my whole life, and so this gentleman came to pick up the kennels, and he and I just started talking. And I explained to him that my father was in a nursing home in Paramus, New Jersey, and he says, "Well, when I get in there, Beethoven will be the first. Your father will be the first person that Beethoven meets."
Wow.
Okay.
And then a handshake agreement, and he got to see him for the first time, and he and I became friends ever since.
But then COVID hit, and we were talking and said, "What are we gonna do for the veterans?" So we did this like little fundraiser. We gave a whole bunch of shirts, socks, diabetic socks, and
deodorants, all kinds of things.
And we had a Bergen County Harley-Davidson. They were a big supporter, and then just started snowballing. If you told me 2 years ago I'd be doing this, I would say you're crazy. But it just snowballed into,
Oh, look at that. If a picture isn't 1,000 words, I mean, gee whiz. What is it about canines and therapy that bring community back together?
On that picture, and they called me, the National Guard called me, and they said that they had like suicidal people that were there. And they want to see if I can come in for a compassion visit during COVID. So we took them to an open area. We took him to an open area, and then they he visited some people, which made him feel much better.
I love it.
I can't imagine, because you know what, we think about therapy, and we think about programs, and there's something about the unconditional love that we get from our animals, right? What do you guys experience when Beethoven goes and meets somebody for the first time, and then you see them just get a hug, or just petting them? What does that do for a person?
Their faces light up instantly.
Yeah.
And I can tell you firsthand,
yeah,
that when Beethoven got to visit my father, my father was the first one to see Beethoven in the premise home, the nursing home, the VA home, and he called me and said it was the best wake-up call I ever got. And just the faces on them, and we get to see it, and it's just an amazing, like the video that you showed.
Yeah.
That was a gentleman that we gave a German Shepherd too. He's a veteran.
Oh,
and
wow.
that day was a very emotional day. And the guy's doing well with the dog. It's, he's doing amazing with it. And so it's just seeing their faces, seeing the happiness on their faces makes us realize why we do what we do.
I just love that you guys have created a mission for yourself. Like, I have to imagine that this is a passion project for the two of you.
100%.
Wow.
Yep.
How does it make you feel at the end of the day? I'm curious. And why do you stay so committed to the mission?
I love hanging out with my dogs. I mean, what day is not good,
Yeah,
hanging out with the dog.
I get to hang out with the dogs, rattle them up, and go home. Unfortunately, I don't have a dog myself. I mean, I grew up with dogs, but I don't have one myself now. And that photo that you just took with that gentleman that was laying in the nursing home,
this right here.
Yeah,
that's my father.
Oh,
okay.
He's 3-time Purple Heart, Vietnam.
Oh, and look at Beethoven.
That was our first day in the veterans home.
This is the first one.
Veteran.
Now we have another therapy dog that's going to be in our program, and his name is Duffy.
Okay.
Oh,
Unfortunately, he's profoundly deaf.
He's
Yeah, so we're going to work with him and a trainer to do sign language.
absolutely, guys. For the folks who are watching, if people want to, donate and contribute to that, how can they get a hold of you guys?
They can go to our website, which is operationk9beethoven.com. All of our information is there, as well as our online store. You can give us a like on Facebook at Operation K9 Beethoven as well. We're also on Instagram. And I think we're on Twitter. Right?
Smash the donate button.
He loves to say smash the donate button.
We got these shirts. This is actually Beethoven's paw print. Took me 3 months to get it.
and hit it.
For him to cooperate to get the paw print, but that's his actual paw print.
That's so funny. Where did he go? I thought he was supposed to sing on this show today.
He was outside. Up over here, so
everybody's sleeping. It's showtime. We're all, guys. Thank you so much, and really just keep doing what you're doing.
Keep up the great work. Yeah,
absolutely. And listen, keep saving those dogs as well, man. We love it.
And also, the fact is, the two of you inspire other people by what you're doing. I mean, like you said, you're volunteering your work. you're volunteering your services, you're helping other people build a better community, a better world for people to live in. And that is inspirational, period. And we all really owe you a lot, and Beethoven a lot.
Thank you so much. And you know what? I mean, meeting him, we're friends forever.
Yeah.
We're tied into this. And like he likes to say all the time, you shake every hand, you say hello, because you never know who's going to pivot your life.
Yep.
Wow.
I'll leave it right there. Brian, Arpi, guys, thank you so much. Where's Beethoven? Get him
He's
up.
going to sing for us. He's going to sing.
Get him up.
Bring him up.
Come here, Bob.
One time on the Pix 11 Morning News, we had a dog bark. Who let the dogs out? Can Beethoven do that?
I don't know about that.
Boy, Suki, I'll tell you what. Anytime you can get canines involved with like nursing homes and hospitals, I mean, God, those dogs do stuff. I mean, listen, who doesn't love hanging around dogs? They just make you calmer, right?
They change the world, you know what I mean? And, like you said, we could use a lot of calmness in the world. And also, having a furry friend, I mean, you and I could speak from personal experience. It changes your life. It opens your heart. It just takes that part of you that's old and tired and angry and just makes it just a little bit.
Makes you more tired and more angry? Or no?
No, it makes you full of love, silly.
I know.
But those guys are great, and they're doing great work in the community. And that's the most important thing, giving back to the community and serving the community that you live in. Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Listen, speaking of serving the community, our next guest, Pamela Peckerman, we know her from our days back at Pix 11, Suk. She used to come in. We would have a ball with her on the morning show. She is the founder of Hustle Like a Mom.
And she hustles.
She is hustling. She also, she's putting her money and her time where her mouth is.
Very personal.
And she is really, when it comes to, there's a disease out there called vasculitis, and her dad passed away from it several years ago at the age of 56. So the Vasculitis Foundation is very near and dear to her heart. She started her own foundation for her dad where they raise money. And they're out there trying to educate people. We're going to talk to her about the Vasculitis Foundation, Hustle Like a Mom. Let me give you a little bit of Pamela Peckerman first, Suk, and then we'll bring her in on the other side. Take a look.
Oh, hey, mamas. I'm Pamela Peckerman. Come on into my world of mom life meets entrepreneur life, where cuddles meets crazy. Come on. I've been a journalist for over 15 years, and maybe you've caught some of my TV segments on shows like Good Day LA, Good Day New York, Good Morning America, or VH1. Maybe you came across some of my commentary in publications like The New York Times or Life and Style magazine. My goal has always been to make your mom life and my mom life a little bit easier, like finding healthier snack options, workout routines we can do from home, or beauty boosters you can actually put in your cup of tea. So I hope you'll consider me your mom BFF, like the girl who's gonna find that wrinkle-free, machine-washing friendly dress that even the most ambitious toddler cannot destroy. And of course, you can follow me on my blog, PamelaPeckerman.com, and definitely don't forget to follow my Mom Life Meets Entrepreneur Life shenanigans on Instagram at Pamela Peckerman. Thanks for joining, and don't forget to subscribe for more hustle tips for everyday mom life.
Hi, Pam.
So I appreciate that you ran the pre-2020 clip because there's no profanity. There's no profanity. I look younger. It's great. I love it. It's a whole different monster scary version in 2022.
I love it. I love it.
Pam, welcome to the program, young lady, where entrepreneurial life meets mom life.
Yes, I am so excited to be here with you guys because, Sukes, I remember seeing you in February when you were thinking about this before COVID hit. So I'm so excited to be here to, first of all, celebrate both of you because I think what you're doing is phenomenal and super needed. A laugh, a hug, people you want to wake up to. Love it.
We should spill the tea, Pam, on what you've been up to because you've been doing a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah,
I've been riding bicycles, lots of bicycles. 2 years of outdoor activity, so I'm a much better bike rider than you saw me at. I think that clip was what, 2016 maybe.
Yeah, wow. That was
yeah. And you know what? You haven't aged a bit. You still look the same in the last 6 years.
Yes.
Listen, you have this unbelievable business, Hustle Like a Mom, which you founded. We're going to talk about in just a second. but I first want to get into this Vasculitis Foundation because this is just, this is something that when you read more about it, people need to be aware of this, because this is one of those that there's so many different forms of this disease. And it's almost like a prostate cancer, right? Or a colon cancer. It's one of those things where sometimes by the time you get diagnosed, even kind of what your dad went through, it could be too late, Pam. So give us a little bit on what happened with your dad, how it affected the family, and what you guys are doing now, to keep his name alive in the community, and also raising money for this Vasculitis Foundation.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to talk about it. So I am very involved in the Vasculitis Foundation, which has existed since 1986. There are, as you mentioned, 20 different versions of vasculitis. So vasculitis, just kind of base level, is an autoimmune disease that causes inflammation of the blood vessels. So depending on which one of the 20 a patient might have, it could affect their veins, it could affect their arteries, and then obviously with that, it will depend on how their body is reacting, what organs are affected, what tissues are affected. My father had one that was called GPA. And, you mentioned, Scott, about early diagnosis. That's the most important thing. And so for us, I don't know that we got an early diagnosis. It's hard to go back and tell. Mm-hmm. But essentially, he was seeing an ENT for a while. And at some point, the doctor's like, this is not going well. He was having issues breathing. He was having issues lying down. He would eventually be, this was like in 2008 and 2009. And finally, we went to our main cardiologist, who just is somebody who, Dr. Heimowitz, I'll give him a shout out. He's somebody who's just very knowledgeable. He looked at him and he said, wrote on a piece of paper, possible Wagner's. Called a place around the block in Manhattan and said, please stay open for another half an hour. I have a patient who needs a blood test. Once my father got this very specific called ANCA blood test, he was diagnosed. And so within about a week or so, he was taking, which at the time, one of the only options was prednisone. It's like very intense, to kind of make that part of the story shorter so that I can hold back my tears, because I'm going to try to keep it together. It's he got better long enough to walk me down the aisle a few months later, and unfortunately, so that was in August of 29. 2 months later, he unfortunately did have a relapse and did pass away. But on the positive side, in the last 13 years since he passed, even in the year or two after he passed, more medication comes out. And one of the best things about working with the Vasculitis Foundation and making sure that better research is funded is that we are able to, at this point, we don't have a cure. However, we continue to find better medication options that are less harmful than steroids. And so obviously steroids have side effects. It does kill your immune system while it's trying to help your immune system. So that's, the goal is always to have better research. And also we were with a doctor, and I don't blame him, who wasn't wasn't knowledgeable in even flagging that this might be vasculitis. So One of my passion projects in starting our original fundraising for VF, for the Vasculitis Foundation, was how can we get more engaged and educated medical professionals out there that are like the primary care physicians, so that we have less delayed diagnosis.
Can I ask you a question? When your dad first got this diagnosis, and of course, ultimately losing him, what empowered you to start this organization to create a voice for people who did not know about this, or help in the treatment or the process of where we are now 13 years later? Sure.
I think, and by the way, there's so many phenomenal volunteers in the entire Vasculitis Foundation. So certainly it's a massive, massive team doing a lot of wonderful work. I would say for me, he was gone. And so there was nothing left that I could do on his behalf. And I thought I could sit here and wallow, which I did, don't get me wrong. But I had to figure out, how can I turn that pain into something else and purpose? Otherwise, I would just fester. I would go down that rabbit hole of like, well, why didn't we go to the Mayo Clinic? Well, we were in New York. How do we not know that doctor was at this hospital? It was, we were in Brooklyn and he was in Manhattan, and how do we not know? Yeah. Back then, I think, Suki, you were at PICS, and I just remember, well, I'm going to do what I know how to do. So I called a bunch of publicists and I said, I need some product. I'm going to do a silent auction. So that was the first thing I did. And then I started to do Shop for Vasculitis. And so we started to raise money to go towards the Vasculitis Foundation. And what we've currently raised over $150,000.
Wow.
So yeah, really excited. I've sat on the board over the years for the Vasculitis Foundation. And what we're doing now is putting that money into a program that we're going to call the Ilya Peckerman Fellowship Award. And so we're actually going to put the money where it needs to be and be able to fund fellows who are going to become the educated next generation of professionals in the medical community.
Wow.
So I'm really excited about that. Most recently, like Ashton Kutcher came out and he said that he had vasculitis. Several years ago, I don't know if you remember Harold Ramis, famous actor, famous director.
Harold Ramis. Yes.
When he passed away, I believe it was 2011. And so, he also had vasculitis. It was not public, because I understand that somebody like that will be afraid that they'll lose their business.
Right.
But you start to hear it. And then somebody sitting on the couch might think, wait, is that me? Or is that my relative, my family member? But the more we can talk about it, the more hopefully we can get awareness, and also funding is very important. So the more research can be done.
Harold Ramis of Ghostbusters and Stripes fame. And many other movies. Funny guy.
You're talking, Scott's generation. Right?
Oh yeah, Harold Ramis. Come on.
Scott. Everybody loves those movies.
Suki, don't try to make me sound old now.
How do you keep up with this? I mean, all the time.
Pamela, I don't know.
I don't know how he keeps up with me.
I try to be
keep
serious.
Up with him.
I try to be a serious journalist, and she just laughs at everything. Nothing serious to her.
Nothing.
Listen, so here in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, how can people get a hold of the Vasculitis Foundation if they want to contribute and donate money or their time?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, you can go to vasculitisfoundation.org, click that donate button. As somebody, again, who sat on the board, I can tell you, comparatively speaking, with other charities, so much of your dollar goes to actual funding as opposed to operations, because many of us are volunteers. So I'll just tell you that. So you can go to vasculitisfoundation.org. You can also follow them on Instagram. They do a ton of webinars. They do in-person events. I host events, and I always do various donations for the Vasculitis Foundation. So there's lots of ways to participate and also just get educated. That's
great. And I know at one of the events, you actually got to hang out with this guy.
Did.
Little journey action, right?
So that is Jim Paterick from Journey, and he has been supportive of the Vasculitis Foundation over the years. He did a little concert. This was, I think, in Chicago.
That's great.
And it was me and Suki, a bunch of guys Scott's age. I had to do it. And we were all bidding on this guitar that he had just played for that concert.
Wow.
And these guys were looking at me. I'm all of 5-0.
You're like,
and that time I was younger. I was like 30.
And you're feisty.
I was 30, and I kept outbidding them because I thought, my father wants me to have this guitar. and at some point, like at an obnoxious number, they gave up and looked at me like, she must be a real fan. I'm like, my father wants me to have this guitar.
This guitar.
And I have the guitar. And I'm hanging it on my wall, actually.
And did you guys sing a little "Singer in a Smoky Room"?
Well, I can't sing that. My vocals do not allow me to sing that song. I have to protect them for all the interviews that I do for the public.
All right.
But I do love "Eye of the Tiger." I love that song so much. So that revs me up, and it makes me think of my dad and keeps me going. So.
I love it.
I mean, I incorporated my kids as much as possible in the process in the 9+ years that I've been a mother. So they know what the Vasculitis Foundation is. And I also, with respect to Suki, what you were saying about kids, I always say I show them that it's not just about giving money. Giving money is great. It's super important. Please donate. But I think also just them seeing the donation of time and the donation of effort in whatever, charity that is important to you, that the kids see that you're doing that. And that's going to become part of their way of being as well.
Yeah. You ever hear the song "Every Day I'm Hustling"? You know that song, right?
I wake up to it.
Before we go, I want to hear real quick, "Hustle Like a Mom." Let's get that in there. I mean, you know, you're like at the intersection of mommy entrepreneurship
Yes.
and balancing your time on both of those levels.
So even before COVID, and this is one of the reasons why I started to slowly leave, and Sukes, we talked about this, why I slowly started to leave the media side is I remember sometime around 2016, business was going well. I was traveling the country. I was doing TV segments, hosting events. I came home from a back-to-back segments in Texas, and I realized, why is my professional life no longer suiting me anymore? Isn't this what I wanted in my 20s? And what I came to realize out of a lot of reflection was the ambitions of my 20s were no longer serving me in my 30s. And it was the and then what? And eventually what we have now with Hustle Like a Mom is my answer to the and then what, which is I wanted to be a person who aligned her personal professional aspirations, which sounds so right after COVID, but before it was sort of not being discussed. And so Hustle Like a Mom is a community for the between drop off and pick up mompreneur. How can we figure out how to grow a business between 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock, and sometimes during, when they're in after school activities. And so through different planning processes and different marketing and coaching strategies, we host events, we have social media. And I, on the personal, professional and personal side, have honestly never felt more fulfilled than I do right now in the impact that I create through Hustle Like a Mom.
Love it. Pamela Peckerman, Hustle Like a Mom, Vasculitis Foundation. People, you got to get out there, look it up online, go, educate yourselves, because there you go. Victory over vasculitis. And again, it's one of those diseases. It could strike anybody at any time. You know it firsthand. And early detection is really the big key to fighting this thing. Pamela, thank you so much. Continued success, and keep raising that money, young lady.
Thank you.